We're gonna look at this. This again is gonna be a review of OOP a little bit. Okay, so basically I have this class that I've written. Okay, my class is called class Pikachu. Okay, I've written an attribute accessor. Okay, and again this is a combination of attribute reader and attribute writer. Okay, which are your getters and your setters. Okay, so what this does is this allows me to write something like p1.health or p1.health equals like 50 or something. Okay, so if I'm going to assign it or read from it, I need this attribute accessor. Okay, I also have this initialize method, right? This is the first thing that's going to run when my new Pikachu object is created. And then I've written one method called take damage, where Pikachu takes damage. Okay, use our punching bag, and unfortunately, cannot do anything else. Okay, so he takes damage. All right, so here I'm going to create a new Pikachu. P1 equals Pikachu.new. Okay, and then P1.take damage. I'm gonna take 10 damage. Okay, so after that, I can print Pikachu's health. All right, so I'm just gonna confirm this is working. So if I go and I run Ruby Pikachu.rb, okay, then I get this 20 printed out, which is what I expect because I'm initializing it with a health of 30, and then I'm taking 10 damage, and 30 minus 10 is 20. Okay, so I have this instance variable for the total health, right? That is instantiated. That when the object, a new Pikachu object is instantiated, it's assigned that value of 30. Okay, so I have an instance variable representing the health of 30, and then here I say that the health is the existing health minus whatever the damage that was attributed to it. Okay, and then I also have this special method that if it happens to take a lot of damage, it'll just output this extra statement. Okay, all right. So if I were to run this one and comment this out, okay, then Pikachu takes massive damage and his health is 0. Okay, so he is dead or KO'd until you revive him somehow. Okay. All right, so that is what the Pikachu class looks like. Let's comment this out for now. Okay. All right, so that's how OOP works in classes, your attribute accessors, and assigning attributes. Okay, so now we're gonna look at testing this this class. Okay, Ruby TDD. All right, so the general format of a test is you write rspec.describe. We're using a testing framework called rspec, rather than the default unit test framework inside Rails, and we can talk about that a little bit more later. You specify the class you're going to test, okay, and then you nest all of it inside a do and an end. Okay, and then here is the test itself. All of your tests start with an it statement, and then a descriptor of what the test does. Right. This is not code that's run, it's just a descriptor for us to read of what that test does. So it tests some functionality of some class. I have another do statement and another end to wrap that. And here is my actual test. Okay. So I can set some variable. I say this is like some class.new, right? I create an instance of the object. And then I'm expecting that given some method, it's going to return the value of the method. Okay, so I have basically some expectation, and I'm checking it to see if that's that result, right? So given this combination of things of code that's run, that given some sort of input, basically, I'm expecting at the end of all these lines of code that are nested between the it and the end, that it equals this, basically. And so that's the general structure of these unit tests. Okay. Now, we can also look at this example. So here is my actual test for testing our Pikachu class. I have a required relative, okay? And so what this does is it imports and loads that Pikachu class. So I have it available inside this file to run my tests, right? Because Pikachu.rb is the file that contains my Pikachu class, and Pikachu_spec.rb is the file that I'm running my tests in. So I need to link it to the Pikachu.rb file. Okay, and so that link is done through this required relative. I then have my rspec.describe Pikachu, so I'm testing my Pikachu class. Right, and that is nested in this rspec.describe Pikachu and the end. And then I have my two tests. Okay, so I'm going to write the first test first. Okay, so this test is going to say, I'm describing it has health of 20 after taking 10 damage, which is what I expect. All right, and then I do p1 equals Pikachu.new, p1 that takes damage 10. I can print the health, and I expect his health to equal 20. Right, so I expect this test to pass. Okay, now if I were to run the method rspec, okay, so you're writing your rspec test using the keyword rspec rather than movie. Okay, Pikachu underscore spec.rb. Okay, I would run this test. Okay, so I had one example, meaning I have one test that I ran, and 0 failures, meaning they all passed. Okay, now if I were to put 30 here, okay, then I would get still one example, but one failure. Okay, my test failed. I expected 30, but I got 20. Okay, so in this case, my test is the one with the problem because I should expect 20 rather than 30. Okay, similarly, if I didn't have this line or something, which is just taking damage, then this would still fail, right? It would expected 20, but it got 30. And if you were doing TDD, right, then you would actually write this part first and then fill in this method. Okay, so that it then passes. All right, so that's how the test works. Similarly, I can run a test for this one as well. And then if I run this, then now it'll show that I have 2 examples with 0 failures. So I'm running 2 tests. None of them fail. Okay, if they both failed, like had like 10 or 30 or something, then I would see that both of them failed. The first one failed here at this specific line, and the next one failed here at this specific line. Okay, all right, so that's how you write those tests. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to go down this example. All right, so I'm adding something now. Okay, so in this example, I'm going to do this one last. All right. I'm adding a before do statement. Okay, so what this is doing is that before any of the tests run, I'm going to run everything inside this before do statement. Okay, so I'm running Pikachu.new. You'll notice that I had a Pikachu.new here and a Pikachu.new here, right? So I want to reuse my code rather than having to write it twice. Then I can write a before do statement. It's automatically inserted before each it statement. Okay, so this having before do here like this is the equivalent of having this. Okay, and this. Okay. So I use a before do statement. Now you'll notice that I also converted this to an instance variable. Okay, ampersand p1 as opposed to just p1 over here. Okay, the reason I need to do that is because I'll get undefined local variable p1 if I don't. Okay, so to make it allow it to carry over from the before do to the it statement, you have to convert it to an instance variable. Okay, so I can run this still, right? This should fail because I'm expecting the wrong values. I change this to 20, and it will be basically the same thing as what we did above. Okay, same with this one. Okay, if I run this, I have 2 examples. Okay, so that's one way to sort of write your code a little differently by taking some code out and putting it inside a before do statement. All right, so before I run this one, I'm going to comment out this. Okay. I have changed my Pikachu class a little bit. I made it look like this. Okay, so Pikachu class mostly the same. The main difference is I've added this class variable count. Okay, so I'm counting how many Pikachu objects I've created. Okay, so I have a self.count, which is called on the class Pikachu, capital P Pikachu.count, and that'll return the number of Pikachu objects I've created. Okay, so every time I make a new object, I increment my count variable, class variable, by 1. Okay, so the first time I make a Pikachu, my class count, ampersand count, equals 1. If I make a second one, it count equals 2. Make another one, count equals 3. Okay, so this is just a way to keep track of how many Pikachu objects I've created. Okay, so using this class, if I were to run this, okay, I would get, there are 3 Pikachus, okay? So I built this example to demonstrate to you guys that this is running once for every single one of these test statements, and that before each of these test statements, like, you still have that count of the total number of objects, okay? So I'll tell them later. I know, but I couldn't start lecture until 10:40 because algorithms went super late.
Your fault.
I'll tell them when we're done. Probably in about 10 minutes? Yeah. Okay. This is all in the video. Alright. I can't edit it. QuickTime, I can't edit it. Alright. So, anyways, you're creating a new Pikachu, right? In memory before each of these it statements. Okay, so that's why by the time you get to this one, right, at p1 equals Pikachu.new has run 3 times. Okay, you've overwritten the instance variable that's referencing it, but that Pikachu that you created like in each of these times is still there, right? So the first time you wrote it, at p1 equals Pikachu.new is here, right? It's assigned to instance variable at p1. When you run this again, you're actually losing the reference to the Pikachu that was created over here because you're overriding it with this new instance variable, right? But that thing still exists in memory somewhere until you close your Rails, until you close your code, right? Your function finishes and everything. Okay, so by the time this one happens, it happens once here, and once here, and so you have 3 Pikachu objects. Okay, so I point this out because as you guys are writing code, just know that there are some things that are carrying over from each it statement. Okay, so some things are getting accumulated. Okay, so depending on some of your assignments and what you guys write, that could explain some behavior you guys are getting. So just keep that in mind. If you find you're getting unexpected behavior, it may be because something is accumulating from all the different tests that you're writing. Yeah, I'm storing that in memory because I'm still storing it in this Pikachu class. The class variable is persisted from one it statement to the next. Okay, until all the code finishes running. Because if I were to run it again, right now it's not going to be like 6. It's going to be 3 still, right? Because all my code finished, all the memory was released, and you're rerunning everything again. All right. What? Yes, each it statement block will run the before within the specific RSpec I described. Yeah. All right, so that's what happens there. Okay. Why did I do count -1? Oh, I think I wanted to. If I wanted to test that the count could be decremented. Oh. I think it's an artifact or something earlier. Yeah. Okay. All right. Last example. Okay. This is not too different. I just want to show that I've added this statement called context. All right. So context does not actually do anything to your code. All it does is to help you organize your code a little bit. Okay. So it's just only for the human user to read or the developer to read, and you're just grouping your different statements together. Okay. So I'm grouping this one like context taking damage, and I stick these 2 methods inside, and I could have another context for dealing damage if I had code written for Pikachu to retaliate. Okay, so if I run this, still has the same 2 examples with 1 failure. I think this one is expected 0 got 10. Oh, this one needs to be 10. Yeah. Oh no, this one needs to be 30. Okay. All right, so it's just grouped together in that way. That's all. So I think yeah. So it gets combined into the it statement. Okay. So Pikachu taking damage has health of 20. right? Pikachu, taking damage, has health of 0. It's actually this one. Okay, so this statement that shows in your terminal, right? It's a combination of first the name of the class or the object described up here. Okay. Second, the context, and then third, its statement text itself. Okay, so we have Pikachu taking damage has health 0, right? Pikachu taking damage has health 0.
There's a context right here showing the section off if you wanted to. Use preset and
Yeah, actually, yeah, there is another way to run only specific tests. I forgot the code. I forgot the syntax for it. I think it's like let's make an experiment. So let's try 97. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. So if you specify colon in the line number, you will only run the test that is on that line number. Okay. So I only ran one test right now. Okay, because I ran the test that was on line 97. Okay. Whereas if I did not have the colon, right, I would have run 2 tests. So I would have run all the tests inside this file, basically. I mean, all my other tests are commented out, right? But right now, the only 2 tests in my file, the only tests in my file are these 2. So if I have no colon, it'll run both of them. And if I do have a colon, I can specify that I want to run just that one specific test. Now, 97 happens to be in the middle of this test, right? If I had picked 94, I would actually run everything in the context. Okay, so you can use context to specify which grouping of tests you want to run if you don't want to run everything, make it go a little bit faster. But it's also just for you to read your tests a little more easily because you group them together in that way, and it's reflected in the actual statement if you have like a failure.
Even though you're specifying line 97, it's still running line 90 and
Uh-oh. Okay, I'm basically done, so I'm going to record this. Say this first. Ruby TDD.